Welcome to HeroQuest fans. This is just a short video reacting to some brand new things happening in the world of HeroQuest. So we already know that there's that review embargo on Wizards of Morcar, which expires on October 23rd, which coincidentally is the first day of Spiel Essen. And Ribby reported from Gamehole Con just a few days ago, uh, last Thursday actually, And unfortunately, Doug Hopkins was not forthcoming with any more details. He just showed Dread on the Horizon, didn't really give any new teasers or anything, no new confirmations. So we've had no public information about Wizards of Morcar until now, till today. So Hispos Argon and Merlin. So Hispos Argon shared this on yieldin.com forums, and Merlin shared it on the HeroQuest fans Discord. I'm sure it's appearing other places as well. This image that you see before you, all I've done is just zoomed in on it, but this is an image apparently that was posted on Facebook, and it's of purportedly from AliExpress. And of course, we've been hearing a lot about AliExpress. It's this Chinese website which is supposed to be a cut above Temu, but unfortunately, it is infamous for selling bootlegs, IP infringing, potentially illegal copies of legit products. And anyway, we've seen examples in the past of people selling like 100% accurate sculpts of like the mythic HeroQuest pieces, the regular HeroQuest pieces, all from Avalon Hill. So we've had like black or uh, dark or light green versions of like the Bard and the Mentor and Witch Lord and stuff like that. And some people have got them and some people have flaunted them and other people have like said, well, be careful, with this stuff. I mean, it's very tempting for people that don't own those exclusives. Well, anyway, so most recently somebody posted this and I have not tracked down the link myself. I haven't confirmed it, so you could consider this speculation, rumor, whatever, but this may be a legitimate leak. I actually went from being incredibly skeptical to now pretty much believing that this is legitimate. So if I've been fooled, then great job. You fooled me. Does this look like AI to you? So in this picture that you're seeing right here, these are all red plastic figures, presumably that somebody sold or offered for sale on AliExpress. The figure on the far right you see is the female elf from First Light. The short figure in the middle is the dwarf from First Light, and the figure um, one from the left side is the wizard from First Light. But the other two figures, the one raising the sword above its head and the one with its right hand raised and the staff in the left hand, those we've never seen before. And my first thought was, oh, this is just another example of somebody mislabeling, a sale because they take these photos very hastily. There's no uh, quality control at all. It's just a hastily snapped picture of somebody making a quick sale on some bootleg figures. And yes, there's lots of theories. Well, maybe these are the figures that were left over. They were the factory rejects. They're the one that were in the trash, or they've fell off the conveyor belt or something. They could have been stolen, or it could have been just somebody snuck in back into the factory after hours and just printed a few more and decided to sell them on the side without Hasbro having any say in the matter. Who knows? But that image of what's being called the female wizard on the far left. So let's just take a close examination. So you can see there's a bit of sprue that's still stuck on the bottom. So that makes it unlikely to be an AI generated thing, probably. I mean, that's such a small detail. It's unlikely to be like a 3D print. So we know that the figures that are made for the Avalon Hill Hero Quest are, you know, they're cast, right? They're injection molded. But some of them are multi-part. They cut the pieces off. If you look at your legitimately purchased retail or HasLab pieces, you'll see like little um, chunks or like little rough spots on the edges, usually where the base is, where it's been cut. So like there'd be like a string of them, and they cut each piece off. And sometimes they don't get it exactly right. So that's an example. So it looks pretty real, pretty legit to me. The red color, I mean, that may not mean anything because they've printed stuff in weird colors before. And hey, Doug Hopkins himself has showed us that they experimented with a lot of colors at Hasbro for these figures. So, I mean, they've got just ones in their private collections or ones that they've given away at conventions that are off colors from the official ones. But still, all the heroes are in red. That's pretty standard. So this sculpt of this wizard looks real to me. Um, at my first thought though was I was skeptical immediately because I thought, okay, we know that there's Talisman 5th edition, there's Talisman Alliances, there's Talisman Nemesis, and they all use figures that look. I mean, if you didn't tell me, I would think they were HeroQuest figures because they got the same bases, they got the same material, still got that fantasy theme and everything. But I actually looked it up, and I know that Talisman and Nemesis at first they were like very coy about it. Like these are games where there's supposed to be like mystery boxes, like they don't reveal the miniature right away until you choose it, you unlock into the game, I guess similar to Gloomhaven. But I looked at the spoilers and that these two figures don't look anything like any of the official either Talisman 5e or Alliances or Nemesis. Nemesis only had like two figures in it anyway. It doesn't look like anything that I recall seeing from HeroScape Age of Annihilation either, which is another one that's, I mean, it's the same style, although it tends to be more either modern, futuristic, or steampunk. I mean, like dinosaurs and robots and cyborgs and stuff. But I mean, they have some fantasy type characters, but they're usually like anthropomorphic animals and hybrids and stuff like that. But it doesn't look anything like that. And it doesn't look like anything out of Betrayal 3rd edition either, or any of the expansions, which that tends to look just like modern day, like people who walked out of the 70s or of today, you know, or movie monsters, that type of thing, you know, the Santa monster. So I think these are real. I think this is not a hoax. I think this is a legit leak. So it's 100% possible that we've got reviewers, influencers, not me, of course. I'm not part of it. I have not signed any NDAs or anything. I don't have any advanced copies. I don't know. Nobody's leaked anything to me. So this is all public out there. But my theory is that is indeed the female wizard, like other people are saying. So probably Wizards of Morcar has that figure in it, exactly as you see it there. It would make perfect sense that they would give us a female wizard, that it would be a new sculpt. And as Doug has often talked about, I mean, they go back to like those classic designs. That design looks much more similar to the 1989 or 1990 wizard than any one that we've seen before. Like that crescent moon on the staff that you see to the right from the First Light wizard. That crescent staff is the same one that the HasLab campaign had. But the only character in Classic HeroQuest that had that crescent moon on the end of the staff was the High Mage from Wizards of Morcar. So presumably they wouldn't give the bad guy and the good guy the same weapon, the same, you know, sculpt. So it just being looking like kind of a doorknob or kind of like a flat, you know, tab at the top of the staff matches the 89, the classic wizard. So I kind of like the sculpt. And then the hand raised, I mean, it's not a full like monopose, like give me a high five or, you know, salute kind of thing. It's more just like I'm about to pat you on the head. I'm about to reach out and cast some magic. The cape kind of billowing to the side. It's very reminiscent of the classic wizard, but you can see, not to sound like the Da Vinci Code or something, like hint of a bosom, and it's kind of hard to tell if she's wearing like a hood or if that's long hair. Of course, the classic wizard had kind of long hair too, but it looks a little more feminine, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's 100% what it is. I tried to enhance the image. I even tried one of those crappy free AI upscalers, didn't get any more detail out of it. So anyway, the other figure that you see with the sword raised on the far right is being called the male scout. And the reason is because if you compare that image of that figure holding a round shield and a sword raised above its head, looks almost exactly like the female scout included in the remake of Frozen Horror. Okay, and that one, we got 12 mercenaries. They were all in gray. People have shown side by side pictures of like the boots, like the, you know, the legs stretched apart like that. It's very similar. It's almost like they took the same figure and they just sex swapped it. They changed it from woman to man. Now, my personal take on it is, I mean, it's fine. It looks cool. Um, I guess just changing the head and maybe, making the chest look a little different isn't that interesting. I would have preferred like a character with a helmet. I think the mercenaries should have had helmets. I mean, the original mercenaries from the original Wizards of Morcar 1992, and also the Frozen Horror, were that sort of like Britannian knight mercenary style. They almost looked like Swiss guards or something. They had like cuirasses, and they had the open-faced helmet with the like ostrich plume on the top, and then they had whatever weapon they had. Of course, those were, they had bolt-on weapons, so it would be like the hands holding the halberd or the sword and shield. Whereas the modern ones, they gave you like a full sculpt, so it's kind of cool. But one of my suggestions, and other people came up with the same thing, is like, well, what would the new mercenaries look like? Either they're going to give us the same exact sculpts again, maybe just in a different color, which would have been cool if it was red, because the original Wizards of Morcar had red mercenaries, which were only good guys that you could hire, and then the dark blue evil Wizards of Morcar, the four bosses. But up to this point, I mean, with Avalon Hill, they've only given us mercenaries that are in gray. So they gave us the Frozen Horror mercenaries in gray, which they were in the original, and they gave us the Ogre mercenary in gray. Now the ogres in the against the Ogre Horde, the vintage version, they were red. Presumably they changed them to gray because one, a gray character could be good or bad, sort of emphasizes the choice there. And also maybe they thought North American fans would be confused if they got like um, a red character that wasn't heroic, I guess. But up until this point, the only characters that they've given us who are red are either heroes or animal companions. So we've had like the wolf, the saber fang, the raptor, all in red. But remember, in Wizards of Morcar, the red characters are only good guys. There's no bad mercenaries. Whereas in Frozen Horror, they could be monsters or they could be guys that you could hire. So you'd reuse the gray figure. Now, if you paint them, doesn't matter. But I always thought it'd be cool if they were in red. So if this is accurate, if this is a real leak here, I think that's a great thing. And making it a sex swap of the original is great. It's fine. So that way you've got a male and a female uh, scout, you got a male and a female crossbowman, halberdier, swordsman. It's great. Now, this doesn't tell us anything else about the expansion, except it sort of maybe dispels some speculation, some rumors. So, one theory was that the mercenaries are just going to be cardboard, or they're going to be something totally different. I guess the fact that it's a new sculpt, even if it's just slightly modified, tells us that probably there's going to be 12, maybe 24 in the box, which limits the amount of new things that they could put in the box. But the original Wizards of Morcar didn't have a whole lot in there other than the 12 mercenaries and the 24 weapons, and then the 4 wizards, and then there were actually 4 plastic wall bases. But there were only 3 cards that you inserted into them, so you had the fire, the water, and the earth, and then there was just a spare wall base. And the wall bases were the same color as the wizards, which are dark blue. I would love to see a wizard. Why didn't they give us one of those? So why leak only those heroes? I mean, I guess what you see before you looks like a hero pack, but why would they throw just one mercenary in there? Why isn't the crossbowman or the swordsman in there? But there could be all kinds of reasons for that. Maybe the seller is selling the other ones and just hasn't shown them yet. Or maybe this is all they could get their hands on. Presumably, they may have got them illicitly. Maybe they were dumpster diving, or maybe the scout was the first one they printed out, and so they grabbed that one. Why not the others? Or maybe they had no idea what they were looking at, and they just thought, "Oh, this looks cool. This looks like a hero. Throw them in with the hero pack." Because lots of stuff gets mislabeled. These are just people trying to make a quick buck. Presumably, they're not HeroQuest historians. Like some of the pictures are kind of comical. Like they'll show a picture of like the bookcase, but it's upside down. It's like, who would do that? But they don't know what it is. They're just, oh, this is something people want. It's associated with HeroQuest. Let's sell it. So anyway, So yeah, my take on it is this is probably real. This is positive news, not because I'm glad someone's pirating this already, but glad that presumably the sculpts are going to be like something cool that we want, that we would want, that fits in with what we have already and is paying tribute to the original with red. So here's hoping that the wizards are dark blue instead of just boring gray or beige or some other like boring color like that. And hopefully the stuff, the cardboard stuff, is well written and updated. I know a lot of the things that we're wondering about are how are they going to change the spells. A lot of people think the hero spells are too underpowered. Some of the bad guy spells could use a little tweaking. I disagree with those who say that they should just be scrapped in favor of just the classic like game system dread spells. I think the uniqueness of the Wizards of Morcar variants are kind of interesting. I think the fact that you have a rust that can destroy any piece of equipment is cooler than just, it can only destroy a helmet or a sword, and that's it. Or the idea that it can summon a monster, but the monster can move and attack immediately, as opposed to, it just summons a monster that just stands there until Zargon's turn, right? Well, presumably the spellcaster uses up his one action to summon like undead or orcs, and then that's it. Okay, and then so the heroes could kill all those monsters, and then on Zargon's turn, he doesn't get to do anything. Whereas like call skeletons, summon mummy, or summon goblins, those characters appear and can immediately move and attack. But still, there could be some tweaks involved still to make it more interesting. Because really, there isn't much to Wizards of Morcar. It's like you just track down each of the wizards, you kill them, and then you have just a boss rush at the end where you kill them again. And there's no ending. There's no ending text. So they definitely got some things to do. But I am interested to see, yeah, what comes of this, and I appreciate the reporting that people did. I know Ribby did his best, but Doug just made it clear that he was not going to reveal anything more at Gamehole that we didn't already know. We just had to wait for Spiel. So 1 week from now, we should be getting. I would presume at this point, there's no reason why they can't do a full unboxing. But even if they just show us the back of the box, they've already given away the game because the back of the box, in all instances, has revealed all the contents. They show us all the miniature sculpts. They give us the basic storyline, any highlighted features, because obviously, in the store, you're going to flip over the box and read it, and that's the selling point. It's not going to tell us like what's changed, but I mean, it would tell us some basic facts like how many quests are there? Are there new tiles? Are there new cards? That sort of thing. I mean, all the expansions come out with these press kits, right? Where they show like the front and the back of the box. They show maybe a zoom in on the art. They show the figures and tiles and cards, at least some of the cards, like displayed in various ways. And they almost never reveal everything. They reveal some of the cards, but all of the miniatures. And if there's any dice or anything like that, we'll see them. So I've already made my predictions. I guess we'll see how wrong we are. But actually, the thing that I'm most interested in is the contents of the game mechanics in the text, more so than the plastic. But on the other hand, I definitely did hope that they went all out with this release. I know some people are saying, hey, this may be the final release. Why the final release? Well, I guess in the minds of a lot of fans, this is the last boxed set from the old days. And a lot of people were saying, hey, if HeroQuest goes away, I'll be sad, but as long as I can get Wizards of Morcar, I'll be happy. So people are kind of like putting that out as like the final thing. So some people might be worried that if this comes out, this means that's it. Like they're done. But I'm not so sure because if this is coming out like this year still, 2025, or if it's coming out early 2026, I mean, they've got who knows how much time to just keep making stuff. As long as it sells, as long as Hasbro lets them produce it, they could keep doing it. So why should it just end? I mean, were their new creations well received? I think they were. I mean, people seem to like Rise of the Dread Moon and Jungles of Delthrak, and you got to remember Spirit Queen's Torment, Prophecy of Telor, Crypt of Perpetual Darkness were all new creations. They didn't exist in the 90s. And the new heroes, the knight, the rogue, the monk, didn't exist before. So they all seem to sell pretty well. So I think we shouldn't assume that this is the final release. I mean, it does seem that this has been delayed significantly. Um, some are saying that we should have gotten this last year, maybe. There was just a flurry of releases, and then we had the layoffs, and then there was the talk about tariffs, and then all of a sudden, like, it just kind of like shrunk down, and things got really, really quiet. I mean, Doug and Michael, I mean, they tried, but it was a lot quieter. You didn't see the animated videos that they were doing, those trailers with Stephen Baker. But I guess the only things that we think might still be in the hopper, as far as like things that have been teased or leaked or talked about, are the fact that Stephen Baker wrote more quests for First Light. There was a rumor a long time ago, which you can read about on Christabel's channel, LaGuardia de Morcar, about a swamp type expansion, something to do, an aquatic expansion, something to do with abominations, or like crocodile men or something like that. There was talk about dwarven furniture. That was something in Carmine got us thinking about for a little while, way back in the day. There was talk about a female dwarf, which some think may have been just a misunderstanding of the explorer character, which had a male and female version, or maybe uh, just thinking about maybe even the druid, because the druid is like a halfling, a small. I think a dwarf is like a shorter human, so maybe they mistook that for the female dwarf, or it might mean that there is a dwarf quest pack that's being worked on. But there just isn't a whole lot. Whereas Wizards of Morcar, I mean, that was one of the things at the same time as Crypt of Perpetual Darkness retail was being um, leaked. You had that storefront leak that said you could pre-order COPD and you could pre-order Wizards of Morcar. And it was like, whoa, wait a minute. And Wizards of Morcar had a higher asking price than COPD, so we were like, okay. So Joe's pack is probably the small box, and Wizards of Morcar is probably the big box. So there's a lot of things we're wondering. But I personally think it would be great if Wizards of Morcar was true to the original and yet added to it, similar to how Against the Ogre Horde expanded that expansion, you know, taking the fan feedback of the last 30 plus years to make it better. But anyway, I've prattled on long enough. Maybe in the next few hours there'll be more clarifications. I would like to see closer, better resolution pictures here. I'd like to see what else they might have. Again, I'm not encouraging piracy, but at the same time, I think the effect of this will be to encourage people to seek out the real thing, the real expansion. Because these people who are selling these bootlegs, they're not really helping anything unless it's like, I guess if they're selling something that's completely out of print, people might be tempted to buy it if it's cheaper than buying like a collectible version that's like hundreds of dollars. You know, it's like, oh, well, they're selling it for a couple dollars. Maybe I'll get that. Like if they just want to have it as opposed to they want to collect the thing. But anyway, that could be a debate for another time. Point is, you take your own risks if you try to pursue something like this. So be careful. But at the same time, the information is useful to us because we are interested in Wizards of Morcar, what HeroQuest is going to be in the near future. So, all right, thanks for listening to my rambling thoughts there and appreciate the reporting. And we'll see what happens in the next week or two. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening.